أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Uh, okay, let's continue with the An-Najm. Inshallah, continue from where we left last week. We don't have much time. Inshallah, we will try to finish by 6:45. We have Darartu and Qadir. They were here last week in person. The other Muni and Zarar was also here, but since they were here in person, maybe they can help us how we studied the first part. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. And then علمه شديد القوى. Now we have microphone now for online people so that they can better hear you.
So from the last time, what we discussed that remained with me was the revelation part and how you defined revelation and like what it means. And then after that, the basic part that I remember is like you said there were two different aspects and we discussed like one of them. And apart from that, when I was reading it like at home, like from what I understand is like that if you have a question about the revelation, it can be an answer to that. Or if you have like maybe questions like the kuffar had at the time. So I kind of understood it as that as well, like when I was trying to read it by myself. But the main point that I remember is like revelation and how everything is being revealed to you. I think Dua mentioned this point, or I don't know someone else, but everything is being revealed to you at every single moment by your creator, and that is how we took revelation. And I think we discussed something coming down from on high and how like someone who knows better is on the higher pedestal, but I'm not too sure, so I wouldn't say more about that. So thank you.
Okay, Jazakallah. And so just a reminder, we took Najm as one of its meaning, which is something being present in stages, like coming to the existence in stages, happening in steps and so on, unfolding. We took it that way, and we said one of the meaning that certain scholars share, the one interpretation which is mainly narrated by from Ibn Abbas, that how he took it as the Quran, the revelation. And we studied the first part of this ayah, which is like we studied working the first 5 ayahs, and then said that within these 5 ayahs, there are 2 main things. One is the revelation. It's talking about the revelation, how it is coming down, how it is coming step by step. And then we talk about the wahy in general, the revelation. Also, how it is being taught by the most powerful, the mighty one. We studied that these parts. So inshallah, today we will look at the other part of this, again, this first 5 ayahs, which now talking about the from one aspect about the prophet. Okay. And the moment we talk about the revelation, we talk about prophet as well. So although this sounds very familiar or maybe even quote unquote natural to us, obvious. So when you think about it, you don't have the same thing in other ideologies, other religions as well. So even so-called, the Abrahamic religions, which is if you ask me, oxymoron definition, like the Abrahamic religion, it cannot be plural. So other, let's say, the forms of Abrahamic religion, we don't see this clearly. Revelation and the prophet. In Christianity, for instance, we don't see the prophet as we do see in Islam. So this is new to Islam. Even in Judaism, the relationship between the prophet, revelation, and the humans are not same as in Islam. So I think we should spend some time to better understand how revelation is connected to prophethood, how they come together necessarily from Quranic the perspective. Any quick ideas there? Like, I will not wait too much because we don't have much time, but I'm sure you have some ideas why revelation, prophet always come together in our discussions, in Quranic narrations, and so on. Qadir, please.
One example is that like we're humans and that is being taught to us by the creator, like to something that we can relate. If it was just like words or something like that, we couldn't relate to all of that. Like if you read the biography of the prophet, you feel through all of those emotions and you say, yes, I'm feeling all of these emotions as well. So maybe it is revealed the same way to me and I can. So it is also a way to understand the creation as well as a human understood it. This is how I take it.
Alhamdulillah. How about you, Amir? Like, why do we need prophet if revelation is already there? You can speak to microphone if you don't mind.
I don't have a specific reason. I know that there's a verse in the Quran that said even if an angel came down to you, you'd still deny it. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I think, but I mean, I don't have a specific reason.
Okay. Any other ideas, comments? Okay, please, Zaren.
I guess I think of prophethood as like the manifestation of the revelation that is most relatable to us as humans. So like as Qadir says, like how do we like it's an example of how like we take the revelation and like actually implement it like into our like day-to-day lives, and like seeing how that guidance like actually affects us in our lives.
Jazakallah khairan. So, again, for the sake of time, maybe we should just highlight this fact that the prophethood is so central to Quranic understanding. Okay, so in Quran, in Islam, the prophet is so central, and this this feature of Islam is very unique. Okay, so and what I mean with this, which is I guess formulated in the word that we studied last week, the Najm, something being revealed in stages. Okay, it's not about temporal thing. It's not about, first ayah came at that moment, another ayah came another moment, and so on and so forth. The more important part is every ayah corresponds to a different aspect or different, let's say, the period of the human life, which is exemplified in Prophet's life. So we say the sabab al-nuzul, for instance, right? The reason for its revelation. We usually take it as just a historical thing. That's the reason of this ayah was revealed and so on and so forth. But actually what it means every revelation, every ayah corresponds something in the human life. It has a very clear correspondence with your life. Okay? And to exemplify that, to give it as a human example, we have the prophet. So in the Islam, the revelation does not come as something written, or does not come as the page of books and so on. It comes in the mouth of a person, and then in the actions of the person, and in the thinking of the person. right? All these narrations from the Prophet, these are the living examples of the Quran. This is our relationship with Quran. We do not approach, or at least Quran suggests that you shouldn't approach revelation as a, the intellectual material, just like any other written book. Take it, read it, understand it, and try to implement. There is no such thing. Quran came to us through implementation, first and foremost, and then took under record in the form of book and so on. But still, our relationship with Quran should be practical. Otherwise, it would be against the definition of Quran itself. Quran has to be lived. Every ayah we read. So then, connecting back to what we discussed last week, make it practical. Every ayah I read, it must be about my life. Something about my life, as we discussed on Friday, right? We were discussing the surah, which was seemingly talking about a historical figure, Yunus alayhi salam, Jonah. But we said, no, it's actually our story. Right? We have to implement this. This is how it started. This is how we should be continuing our relationship with Quran. So for that reason, Prophet is a necessary element of the revelation. No prophet, no revelation for us. It's that strict. As Quran says, when you try to separate between Allah and the Prophet, you becomes on the kafir side. It's not because you're going against some rules and so on and so forth, because it's not possible to make sense, to understand, to live the revelation without human example. So the Prophet in Islam is that central. You wouldn't see this in any other religions. So to make it more maybe emphasized. So, okay, with this generic maybe introduction, let's start with these ayahs. Okay, the first thing we see that the ayah is talking about someone which is narrated as the sahib, sahibikum, and like you can translate it as a companion fellow, but it's a special companion. Like with the word sahib, it means you are spending some time with. It means she is guiding you when you need. She is or he is with you when you need him. That's sahib. It's not just a friend. Okay? So it says your sahib do not or does not, did not, and so on, go astray, dalle, or ghawa, meaning deluded, like being delusional, just talking maybe astaghfirullah nonsense, but whatever he says being wrong, for instance. So let's start with this, the sahib in our lives. So the Quran is talking about the companion that we rely on and so on. Who is our sahib in this age, in our lives? Do we have such people?
I mean, I think that we have. Would a teacher count as a companion?
As long as, like, again, the connotation here, someone you spend time, someone he is with you when you need, and when you have a question, you consult him here, whatever. That's the connotation. So that's kind of person, mentor or teacher, a friend, maybe close friend. But who do you rely on? When you need a help, who do you consult?
I mean, if it's personal, I would say my mother could be a companion or a sahib. I think if it's about Islam, there's quite a few teachers that I've had recently, and I think that they would fall under that bracket.
Alhamdulillah, you gave the exact answer that I wanted. Go ahead, please. When it is personal, you have some sahib. When it is religious, like when it is about Islam and so on, you have other, let's say, companions or mentors.
Right.
Alhamdulillah. Anyone else? Is that same with you, Qadir?
In terms of the ayah, I don't think it would make sense for a personal companion, but in terms of life, it's the same thing. There is, I think in terms of the ayah, it is like the prophet, and I don't think there is anyone else that I would say like that has answers to all of my questions. Like even if there is someone that there is one friend of mine that I can go and ask them all of those questions. Sometimes after a couple of months or days, I see the error in their ways as well sometimes. So I don't think so.
Okay, so when you say prophet, do you really consult prophet in any way? Like you have a trouble, you go to school, you study really hard, but then it turned out that your grade is not that great and you need some support. Do you consult prophet? You want to marry, you don't know whom to marry. Do you consult prophet?
I would consult to how to deal with those emotions, but not the problem itself. No.
And
If he was-
what do you mean with
if-
dealing with emotions?
Like if you're feeling angry and you don't think you're close to the creator, you would, I would say, like how the prophet dealt with his anger, or like, for example, the biggest example is poverty and how he like navigated his life through that. So whenever I feel down or anything like that, I would go through and see his life and his examples and how he lived through it. And he was the best among us. So that is how I go by it.
He's the best among us, you said? Okay. Oh, yeah, you have the microphone. Okay. They don't need to hear it again. Okay, Alhamdulillah, we will come to that. Sorry?
Look, somebody raised their hand.
Did somebody raise his hand?
Yeah, that was me,
Okay,
Darjan.
please go ahead, Arjun.
Yeah, I was just saying that like I agree with the person who spoke before this, but like I have different people for different reason. But then if I'm afraid to tell any of those people, so if I don't want to tell my mentor and I don't want to tell my friend and I don't want to tell my parents, then I'm just like, God, like it's like
You are the last resort.
I'm like, okay, well, I can't tell everyone. So here it's as if it's like that's the backup when that could be a priority. So I really agree that like maybe it's not a good thing, but that's currently like what I would do is I'll just go to everybody for different reasons.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Which reminded me a joke. I probably mentioned this before. Somebody is trying to find a parking spot, a spot to park his car, and he's looking, he cannot find, and he starts praying, "Oh God, please help me find a parking spot." And then he sees right after the prayer, he sees a gap on the side, and he says, "Oh, never mind, God, I found already." So you need God when you cannot find a solution yourself, right? So that's what you meant, or not yourself, maybe through your other mentors.
I think, yes, I'll just take the blame. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't mean you. I mean, yeah. We. Okay, we do. Yeah, your friend, your atheist friend. So yeah, okay, that's one thing. Also, like the prophet comes into place, play when we need, let's say, information about a fiqh problem, right? How to, I don't know, fast. At what time you should be breaking your fast, and so on and so forth. If you have a question, now you go to narrations of prophet. But if you are deciding which job to take, there's no need for prophet. Or even if you, when you try to decide your ideal wife or husband. No need for prophet or even, Quran. It only needed when it comes to the ceremony. How am I going to marry? Like should I sign a paper? Should I recite Quran and so on? Now we need prophet, most of the time at least. Not for the Artu, but us. So,
But even about like the job or future spouse or whatever, I believe that the Prophet still said things about it that should be taken into consideration.
sure. The question is, like, when you are in such a situation, you don't know what to do. You have two job options in front of you. Should I take this or that? When you have this question, is prophet first thing come to your mind, the second thing, third thing, fourth? Okay, if you attend the halaqah, then after the halaqah, maybe it will be second. Right? I guess that's the situation with at least our friend Mohammed Siad. Right? Microphone, please.
You just want me to testify to my own weakness?
Oh, no. I want you to make a comment about that part, yeah.
I agree mostly with what people are saying, where you turn to different companions for different needs. Like you understand, okay, from this person, I find that they console me in this way, or they provide this knowledge. And yeah, maybe you think to yourself that Allah has put this person in my life for this reason, so I benefit from them in that way. But you may just be seeking an answer that's just like, this is just going to resolve my issue at hand. You're not thinking about what is the greater purpose of this, and what does it mean in terms of like why Allah has put this situation in front of me. Maybe you're just thinking, okay, I have this issue, I have this roadblock in front of me. How do I get rid of it? Who can help me get rid of it the fastest?
Okay, Jazakallah. Oh, Yusuf, please.
So sometimes it happens that, let's say, Birkan is a good friend of mine, but I say that, well, I filter things from Birkan. I take some of the things that he says, but some other things doesn't apply to me really. And I might find him extreme in certain points or a little lacking in certain other points. So then I guess this is where, well, Birkan is someone that I consult with, that I talk to, but not for everything, because I know that I have shortcomings. Likewise, Birkan has shortcomings. So as much as I can adjust or manage this, and then say that, well, in such and such a topic, well, maybe I shouldn't be taking Birkan's comment on that matter. For something else, I say, yeah, this is the person to go to, but not for that other topic. So this is where, I guess, even as Abir was saying, yeah, we do tend to find different people for different consulting that we do. But we have reserves for other reasons. We don't 100% consult with anybody, pretty much. And I guess in this case, about a certain friend, do you have this 100% confidence in that person?
Alhamdulillah. I guess that's the key point. Let's continue from there. So last week we said, that everything will change, of course, depending on how we define revelation. And we said the belief in revelation means coming to the conclusion that whoever creates everything around me, whoever creates me, must be explaining me what is going on. That's the belief in revelation. Okay? He must be speaking to me. And then comes the belief in prophet, which means whoever created me in this situation, whoever is speaking to me through the creation and through the revelation, should be giving me an example that I can follow, should be give me a living the manifestation of the speech, the revelation. It must be in a form that I can understand, practically implement, and say that, okay, in such situations, I should understand revelation in this way. In other that situations, I should be understanding revelation and implementing it in that way, and so on and so forth. So that's the belief in prophet, the revelation in the human form. There must be such thing, I say. Like one analogy is there is textbook, there's professor, in this case, the creator, and there's the assistant of this professor, right? Professor does not just give you the book and tell you that, okay, read it, understand it. But at the same time, there's an assistant, lab assistant or whatever type of assistant who was trained by the professor specifically so that she will be training you as well. Like showing you around, showing you how to use things, showing you how to implement what is written in the book, and so on and so forth, in a way that you can make sense, that you can understand. I need someone who had children so that I can understand how to implement this, the revelation when I have children. I need someone who had been those difficulties, or such and such happiness, so that I can implement the revelation in the same way. That's the belief in prophethood. And then we start looking for such a person. And then one candidate comes and say that, oh, I received the revelation from God. Here is the revelation, here is the message. And then we look at the message, we look at the characteristics, how the message is manifested in that person. And then we say that, okay, yeah, he must be the one. I was looking for such a person anyway, I say. Or it starts from the other direction. Somebody comes and tells you that there's such a person. And I say, wait a second, it makes sense. There should be such a person, really. And then I start, interacting with him or the message. So that's the belief in prophethood. Again, I'm going a little bit fast. But then it talks about some characteristics of this person. Oh, he's not talking out of, speaking out of his own desire. And at the same time, he's not strayed or deluded, as Yusuf was saying, that in the practical terms, like you can rely 100%. It's not like Birkan, who will be right sometimes, wrong most of the other times, sometimes extreme, sometimes lacking. The ayah says, this person, the sahib I'm talking about, is not this way. So why this is important? And at the same time, I say, he been through some sufferings, and this is good because I can now make sense, make connection. He had children, he needed to eat food, for instance, right, the Prophet. He been through some wars, he been through some, the other difficulties. He seems to be relatable, but at the same time says he's not astray or deluded. I make mistakes, so maybe it would be better if he made some mistakes as well, just to make it more relatable. Why this is important?
I think that if a person made a mistake, but if this person, this one who was bringing down revelation, made a mistake or was corrupt or diluted, we wouldn't know what to take from them. As in, like, some hadiths are thrown out because some people who narrated them were known to be liars. Even if the hadith was sound, we don't know. So it would be wrong to live your whole life around it, not knowing if it's the actual truth or not.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So we need such a reliable source, you say.
Yeah.
Also, not speaking out of his own desire. So I'm trying to just give quick examples like this. There are some people studying Quran and the Muslim people. They say, yeah, that part of the Quran is probably the Prophet's manufacturing. What is the word? Manufacturing? Noun form of. Anyway. Sorry?
Manufacturing.
His own words. These parts, I mean, they don't make sense. It sounds like, a human word that, a creator wouldn't use such a word, or creator wouldn't talk about such and such thing. It's probably Prophet with his own good intentions. He added this part or edited that part so that it will be more relatable, maybe human beings. What is wrong with this? Why not? I mean, for instance, it's maybe not nice to make such comments here, but we see that when we look at the Bible, so there are certain sections reserved for certain saints. So letters of the Saint Paul, for instance, right? So they seem to be okay. They seem to be okay that part of the Bible is actually the writing, although through inspiration and so on, but it's the human writing. And they seem to be okay with that. What is wrong with this? Like, why the Quran emphasize that whatever he says, and we are talking about the revelation now, whatever he says, it's not his own words. He's just repeating. Why it is important?
Right. I guess one reason that I think it's really important is that important that he is not strayed or deluded or speaking out of his own desire is that so that it doesn't give us an excuse to like you say, just interpret things to serve our own desires or motivations that may be well-intentioned, but also may not be well-intentioned, or maybe I want to reinterpret this one verse so that it fits in better with this life I'm living, or if something is not really fitting in with my schedule, for example, in my day-to-day work life, I'll be like, oh, I can, for example, with prayer, maybe I can delay it a bit more, something like that. So I think it's necessary to have, something that has set boundaries that we know that can't be crossed.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Anyone else?
So I think the distinction in here is going to be between speech of man versus speech of the creator, because speech of creator is going to be boundless in terms of space and time. But speech of man, no matter how wise, how innocent, how pious that person would be, is going to be bound with limitations of human knowledge, limitations of human feelings, desires, and whatnot. So by definition, human is lacking, human is imperfect anyways. So that message cannot and will not be universally applicable to anyone and everyone. So Prophet not being deluded and not speaking, so they are separate things, not being deluded and not speaking from his own desire, but if the word had something that's coming from his own mouth, then I could definitely say, well, this applied for his time, but not for my time. Yeah, he was doing it with his own good intentions and whatnot. Well, I mean, good for him. I could have said that. Or at least I would have a justifiedly open door to go my way. And I wouldn't be worried about saying, well, does it fit with the purpose of the speaker? Because I would say, well, he was a speaker back then. But when it's a speech of the creator and the transmitter, the prophet in this case, is not going to put any words from his mouth, or as he is receiving it from the creator, when receiving it from the creator, he didn't get anything wrong, which is more about the walla and ghawa part, then I could say that, well, take this message as you are hearing it from your creator right now. Then it becomes like the dimension of the text is becoming infinitely larger, infinitely much more relatable, because now it's a speech of someone who is giving the very breath that I am speaking with.
Alhamdulillah. And going back to the beginning, last week when we studied the revelation, we said we need answers, explanations from the creator, the one who created me in this situation, the one who we keep creating everything around me. I need answers from him. That was the starting point. While waiting such an answer, like, because I'm dying and somebody needs to explain this, the one who is killing me, I mean, giving me death moment by moment, Najm. This death is being revealed to me step by step, right? Every day I'm getting closer to death. So somebody who's giving me death day by day should be explaining me, must explain me the point there, the wisdom there. So that was the starting point. If now Yusuf says, oh, I have an idea, maybe that's the the wisdom in that, or that's the explanation of the dad, I would say, okay, that's great, thank you, but silence for a moment, please, because I need the answer from him. The same thing apply to the prophet as well. If somebody comes and claims that, oh, I had a conversation with God, and here is my understanding, here is my, the suggestion to you, I would say, no, I need the answer from God. Whoever is creating me, whoever is putting me in this situation, that's what I need. So I don't need a human word. Why? Because as Yusuf said, the human word has to be limited to the context, the time, his own abilities, his own experiences, and so on and so forth. I need limitless, boundless, that would be true within every context explanation, for everybody explanation. Hence comes this Dalla and Ghawa part as well. So I take it as in the contradistinction with what we look at the reality, how we look at the reality today. So we think most of the time, and this is becoming, I would say, one of the major ideologies nowadays, is everybody has their own experiences, everybody has their own truths. Before it was individuals, now it is the group of identities. The Muslim people, they have their own truth. Black people, they have their own truth. Asian people, they have own truth. The Turkish people, they have their own truth. Most of the times it's wrong. So that's, the idea now. But the ayah here says, no, there is a reference point of truth. There is let's say, a central focus of the truth. That's what I understand from ma dalle or ma, is it ma ghawa? Yeah, ma ghawa. It means no matter from what perspective you look, no matter what experience you've been through and try to consult the Quran as revelation, it will be true for you. It won't be going astray. It won't be relative to this or that. There is a truth that you can get from Quran, no matter what your background is. Same with the Prophet. When we look at his implementation, Quran says he acts as a reference point. You can measure your truthness based on how distant you are from the revelation, how distant you are from the Prophet. It will act as the reference point. That's what I understand. And to me, this is extremely important. I don't want to get some relative interpretations of the reality of myself, or it will change if Zai is, trying to understand versus Zarin versus Yusuf. I want a true interpretation of my life that I can 100% rely on. This ayah also negates the claim that the Quran is for Muslims with capital M, meaning a certain cultural entity. No, this is not our book. This is humanity's book. That's what the ayah says. It doesn't say that your companion did not, go astray or deluded, or does not go astray or deluded if you are living in the Arab Peninsula, if you are from this background or that background. He's right, whatever he brings is right, true, not in a relative sense, in the absolute sense, which means even when I change, I will find truth in the same source. And this is something I need as a human being. I don't want to get lost in these, the alternatives. Yeah, anything else before we start? I think we kind of answered that. Like he's saying that it's not speaking of his whims. Speaking the word of the God, right? So the creator who created me, and now answering my questions. So that was a quick one. Let's conclude with your final comments, remarks, and then next time we can start with the next part. So there's also an interesting question, actually, like I see now. How does this change how you make your own decisions? Because normally when I decide on something, I follow my desires, right? I say, I want this or that, like a child in a candy shop. I don't like this type of candies, but I like that type of candies. And I want it because I want it. So, but if this is the case, if there's a reference point that I can rely on, even when I make my own decisions about my own life, I say, wait a second. What would be the right way to do it? Now I can have such a question. When there's no reference point, I cannot say what is the right way to do it. Even to say, like, ask this question, what is the right way to do it? You have to accept that there is a right way. There is a reference point. Otherwise, you would just ask whether what I'm doing is better than what Yusuf does or not, or whether it is, bringing me more utility or not, whatever. But to ask the question, what is the right way? First, you have to accept that there's a reference point for the rightness. And it's not from a human being. The rightness coming from the one who creates things. Now, my own decisions also, when I try to marry someone, and I know you are young now, but one day you will, you ask the question, who would be, maybe more relevant, who would be the right person to marry, not according to my family, not according to my culture, not my own desire, but according to the plan that I am living this meaningful life, according to the one who creates this life in this meaningful way. What is the right person to marry? I ask. Let's finish. Yeah.
I will take back to,
Sure, of course.
of course. So this, no, here,
Oh.
stay in here, but this وَالْغَوَى and مَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى is really addressing three different types. And I was asking the question, how do I verify that? Okay, Quran is coming with this suggestion that your friend is neither straight in terms of his ideas, غَوَى, like he is deluded, he is not able to distinguish right from wrong, or speaking from out of his own desire. These are three different types of potentially damaging, like three potential ways that the message can get distorted. But how do I verify that? Because what if Messenger wrote these sentences and he says that for himself from the mouth of the creator, saying that, well, actually, I did intellectually, I didn't deviate. It's an intellectual thing, meaning that he's straight in his thinking. I'm not deluded, and whatever I'm speaking is not out of my mouth. Like, technically, this is possible. Somebody can form these sentences for himself or herself. But then how can I confirm the truthfulness of these messages? Then I will need to look at the message itself and see that, do I see any crookedness in terms of what it is suggesting? This looks for dhalla, like in terms of what it tells me. Do I see any contradiction in there, in the message itself? Do I see any, like a delusional person? Can a delusional person come up with this message which aligns perfectly with the creation itself, with my creation as well? And then do I see that this is written by out of somebody's hawa? This is also important. As you were mentioning initially, with good intentions, he might have said these sentences. Does good intention really count for such a thing? Let's say, for example, if I say, out of my good intention, Birkan has gifted you $100 for every single one of people in here. Like, if Birkan didn't give this money, but I am speaking on behalf of him, isn't this simply lying? Like, what sort of a good intention is that? No matter what I am doing in here, I am lying by saying something that Birkan didn't say on behalf of him. And now we are talking about somebody supposedly, because some Western scholars would claim that, yeah, Muhammad was speaking as if God was speaking, but actually he was the one who was making up all these, so that because the Arabs of the time was really like brutal people, and he was just trying to save them from their brutal mindset. So this is not going in line with good intentions, really, because you're lying in the name of the creator. So it's like some ultimate lie. It's not simply lying for, on behalf of a friend, or lying on behalf of a president or something. So this is why وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى is again looking in there and saying that, are you aware what you are saying when you take the words in here as speech of men? So it's in no way can be explained with good intention or whatnot. So I mean, the reason I was just saying this is, how do I verify this? How can I bear witness to this?
Jazakallah. Okay, let's finish here. People need to eat, not me. Of course, I'm so pious, and I know. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.